My friends at Cricket Wireless and ESPN are giving away a trip to one of the year's biggest sporting events. We're talking about an opportunity to choose an ultimate bucket list event. Visit cricketsweepstakes.com/ESPN bucket list or go to your local cricket store to enter.
SeatGeek is the smartest, easiest way to find tickets for the football games you want to see up close and in person this season. There's nothing like being right there in the stadium for the biggest plays of the year. And with SeatGeek, it's never been easier to get the guaranteed seats you want for a great value. I have the SeatGeek app on my phone, and it is by far the easiest way I've found to shop for tickets. I can be anywhere with just a few taps. I can instantly find seats for this weekend or any game this entire season. With SeatGeek, you always get the best deal on every ticket because SeatGeek price compares for you by searching multiple ticket sites. Prices can vary depending on where you shop, but SeatGeek will always find you the lowest available price anywhere. Best of all, our listeners get a $20 rebate off their first SeatGeek purchase. To get your $20 rebate on tickets, download the SeatGeek app, go to the Settings tab, click Add a Promo Code, enter promo code J and J. SeatGeek will send you $20 after you've made your first ticket purchase on the SeatGeek app. Download the SeatGeek app and enter promo code J and J today.
And now, Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
When I pop the trunk, head the dirt. Y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood. Now act stupid, I'll pop the trunk. Now give me a boom.
Here's Jalen Rose.
What up, dope?
I'm David Jacoby.
Uh-huh.
And we are Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio. What do we do, Jalen?
We're going to be back what they want.
What a weekend in sports. We had the Saturday in college football, the Conor McGregor fight Saturday night, and the best NFL Sunday we've had all season. And we start there Sunday night to finish it all on the 1-yard line, 4th down. Tom Brady throws it up to Rob Gronkowski, incomplete.
It's only right that a Seahawks and Patriots game end on the goal line stand. We saw this happen in the Super Bowl, obviously, a couple of years ago. Seattle tried to do a cross play instead of giving the football to Marshawn Lynch. Malcolm Butler became a star overnight. The Patriots go on to win the Super Bowl. So it was only coincidental for me as the Patriots got first in goal, a couple of the decisions that were actually made that nobody's questioning because it's Bill Belichick.
It's Bill Belichick, so he can't do anything wrong. We would never second guess Bill Belichick.
But
only politically.
That's the difference between us and most media kiss-ups. We say exactly what we see. And the last time I checked, it's one thing to have Tom Brady do a sneak from the 1-inch line. It's another thing to have him try to sneak from almost the 3-yard line, which he got stuffed on first down.
No, here's what happened, Jalen, right? Here's what happened. Bill Belichick got cute.
That's cute, man.
He got cute. He was trying to work the clock. He was like, there's 35 seconds left. I'm going to score right at 1 second left, so we don't even have to kick it off to them. He tried to get too cute with those sneaks.
Here's where I disagree with you. Because I didn't say Tom Brady took a knee. I said Tom Brady did a sneak. So say he was trying to get cute. It would be irrelevant had he scored. They still tried to score on that play, and they got stopped. So now we go to 2nd down. The gentleman who should have got it on 1st down, LeGarrette Blount, who only had 3 rushing touchdowns on the day.
Yep.
You give it to him, he gets stuffed.
But he gets to the 1-inch line.
So now on 3rd down, of course you're going to give it to Blount again.
You have to, right? I mean,
of course, you have
you're
to.
on the 1-inch line.
And again, you try to make up for your 1st down play, where, as you mentioned, trying to get cute. Now on 3rd down, they tried to get cute. It's, we're going to score, and we're going to pick and choose who gets the touchdown type of cute. And what does Brady do? He's not Cam. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not used to doing multiple times where he's sneaking the football for touchdowns. So what happens? The timing is off on the snap.
Mm-hmm.
He fumbles. Okay? So now you go to 4th down. And of course, the great thing about sports, it's not necessarily about the situation. It's about the superstars.
Yeah.
Because all you have to do is look out on the court or the field or anything else and say, if Bill Belichick doesn't throw it to Gronk, or if Pete Carroll doesn't hand it to Beast Mode in the Super Bowl, they're going to get criticized. So now you go to your superstar players. And of course, Gronk lines up in the backfield. You swing him out as a receiver.
Yep.
Now all of a sudden he's one-on-one with Cam Chancellor. People are saying, was it pass interference?
No.
First off, Gronk stumbled a little bit before they made arm contact, which means he's not going to get an interference call.
No.
It's incidental contact. Just like in basketball, when a player's standing there, you can't just run and impede my progress. I'm allowed the position as well. Cam stood up. It was an overthrow. There was no call on the play. Seattle's victorious on the road.
Even as a die-easy Patriots fan, that was not pass interference in any way, shape, or form. But there were certainly a lot of questionable calls in those 4 downs from the 1-yard line, just as there was in the Super Bowl. But don't sleep on this. Pete Carroll, why are you going for 2? Like, why are you going for 2? Like, it's like, come on, Pete Carroll. Because if you play out this hypothetical, you know I don't like to do this, but if the Patriots win that game, you have to look back and be like, so, you're up by 7, and instead of almost guaranteeing to make it 8, making them score and then get a 2-point conversion, you want to go up 9 to get a 2-score game. Come on, Pete Carroll. Come on, Pete Carroll.
And they weren't the only team that made a decision like that on the day as it related to the 2-point conversions. But again, quality win by the Seattle Seahawks, who I've deemed, with all due respect to the Cowboys and other teams in the NFC, look like the class of that division, look like the class of that conference, and I expect them to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. Baldwin, 3 touchdown catches. Russell Wilson seems to have gotten healthy. Legion of Boom is still legitimate.
Well,
the Seattle Seahawks got
Jalen,
a quality win on the road.
A lot of people in Dallas want you to pump the brakes. You keep talking about all these other teams in the NFC. All of these other teams in the NFC except for the Dallas Cowboys, who have the best record in the National Football League with a big win over the Steelers. Does this win tell you more about the Cowboys or the Steelers?
It tells me more about the Steelers because I felt like they win that football game. And then when they got off to a terrific start where they caused Dak Prescott to fumble on the first possession, they go down and drive, and all of a sudden Mike Tomlin get 2-point conversion happy.
Yeah. He loves it, though. He's been doing that all year. All year.
Now you talking about getting cute. Going 0 for 4 on 2-point conversions is getting cute.
The first one's on him, second one's on the team, third one's like, come on now.
Here's what you don't have to do. Chase points. Okay, you're going against a team that is the best team record-wise in their conference, and they're your arch rival in NFL lore. You're up 6-0. Kick the extra point. They get a field goal. You get another touchdown. Kick the extra point. At least it's 13-3, and it's a couple of possessions as opposed to it almost is a buzzkill for me when I look up at the scoreboard and though a team scored a touchdown, they only have 6. Because in the other team's psyche, that's only 2 field goals. And so the Dallas Cowboys, all of a sudden, what do? You do a swing pass to Ezekiel Elliott. And before you know,
untouched.
80 yards down the field, he's scoring, and it's a new football game.
And then what do? They kick it. Guess what that is? A point. And now all of a sudden, there they are. Just get the points, man. Get the points. I think what it is, it's like he's decided that he's going to go for 2 every time, and that's his philosophy because that's what we do with Steeler football. Every once in a while, you have to look at yourself and say, you know what? That's what we do most of the time, but right now it's not working for us. It's like hitting on 16s. Like sometimes you look at it and you're like, not this time. You know what? I've got burned from a few 16s. I feel differently this time. I'm going to do something different than the book says. Yep. Could LeBron James be right that Ezekiel Elliott is not just the rookie of the year, but also the most valuable player in the league?
This is one of those media pegs where each show is going to say, well, LeBron says he's rookie of the year and MVP. Is he right? LeBron ain't the only person saying that, thinking that.
But he's LeBron James.
He's a Dallas Cowboys fan.
He's LeBron James. It's interesting.
And how about this? What does he say?
My buddy Mike says it. It's just like, whatever. I'm not going to talk about that on Jalen Jacoby, but LeBron
what
James
does he
says it
tell
on
me?
him.
So you want some real news? Tell me what he had to say about Cole Beasley's comments. I want to know that.
I don't know.
Okay, so to answer your question, legitimately, he will be, along with Dak, they have to share the rookie of the year, in my opinion, because what they're doing for each other is just as invaluable. while Ezekiel is shown to be a run threat that can also catch out of the backfield, Dak has been a terrific pass threat that's gotten Dez involved. You see Dez catch a couple of long passes, catch a touchdown. You see Witten involved. Beasley was already involved. They have a terrific offensive line. I think they should be co-rookies of the year. We're going to pump the brakes on the MVP talk for right now.
We don't just talk about the biggest names and the biggest teams in the National Football League. Of course, we have some NBA and some MMA later, but right now we're going to go through every single game in the NFL that we haven't already discussed. Are you ready, Jalen Rose?
Wait a minute. We're a nationally syndicated program, and we're not going to just talk about 5 teams and 10 players. Let's do it.
Let's get it. The Broncos and the Saints, of course, he went out of bounds. You know he went out of bounds after they blocked that kick. You know he went out of bounds.
Here's what I need to say that's really important. The Denver Broncos defense find ways to get timely stops and scores on the board. Because Drew Brees, though his team was trailing, he seemed to find receivers, though they were double covered, in particular Cooks on that final touchdown, and he threw a laser to him in the end zone for a touchdown. This is why Drew Brees is elite. Now let's get to the play on the extra point. I am a fan of the NFL moving the extra point back.
Of course.
Look no further than what's happening with Mr. Walsh with the Vikings, who has missed 4 of them this year.
And your man Mike Tomlin doesn't even kick him anymore.
Mike Tomlin and other teams don't kick him anymore. And now we're seeing people jump over the center to block extra points. Here's the problem, though. When a guy's running up the sideline, wearing white shoes is not an excuse on white chalk. He clearly stepped out of bounds.
He was out of bounds. Like,
that messes with the credibility of the game. He clearly stepped out of bounds.
And I'm just going to straight up ask you, by this time of night, everybody knows who won or lost. I'm just going to ask you, are the Panthers done? Are they done? Are they done?
Here's when I knew the Panthers were done. And big shout to the Chiefs, who, while they win ugly, they still win.
They quietly won like 17 of the last 21 games.
And Eric Berry with the pick 6, Peters with the big play late as he strips Benjamin. But here's what I want to say about the Panthers season. Hey, Cam, newsflash. You know the dab is dead, right?
You don't want to bring back old stuff, Cam. Just because you're doing the dance from last year, don't mean you're going to get the wins from last year.
Correct. He went to the old school dance and thought hey, Cam, here's what Jay said. If you want the old Jay, buy the old album.
Exactly.
Don't be bringing out no old dances thinking that's going to have an effect for this year.
It doesn't carry over.
Soon as that happened, I was like, they're not going to win.
It's
over.
It's over. Do you think they'll even make the playoffs? Do you think they will make the playoffs?
They were up 17-0 in the second quarter and gave up 17 points in the fourth quarter. When I watched that team play football yesterday, I was like, wow, the Super Bowl hangover for the losing team is real. They will not make the playoffs.
Next, we have the Titans dominating what all of a sudden looks like a Packers team in trouble.
Can you hit the brakes for me?
Sure, buddy.
That's what Mike McCarthy wished Aaron Rodgers was doing the post-game conferences the last couple of weeks.
He like, come on now.
He looking for fingers to point at people. He like, we're not enthusiastic. We're not energetic. We're not prepared. They might as well just go on and fire the coach and GM right now.
Yeah, and Mike McCarthy's like, we're not going to make any changes. He's like, we're not going to make any changes. Everything seems fine to me. I mean, look at our record. It seems like we're all right.
They were without Clay Matthews. They were without Eddie Lacy, which they're not getting a pass rush. They're not getting a run game. Jordy Nelson looked really good, catching double-figure balls. But this game wasn't about the Packers. Everybody's making this about the Packers. It's about the Titans, who scored 47 big points. And Mariota threw 3 TDs. And DeMarco Murray rushed for 123 yards, including a 75-yard scamper for a score.
The Falcons are down to the Eagles within a score. Matt Ryan, MVP candidate, drops back, throws to who many consider to be the best wide receiver in the National Football League. It hits him right in the hands, right in front of his face. He drops the ball on a big 3rd and 12.
His name is Julio Jones, and you know, based on fantasy, I was watching that for a lot of reasons besides just being an NFL fan. And he had a couple that hit him in his hands that unfortunately he didn't catch like he normally does. But again, you're going to make this about the Falcons. This is about the Eagles and Ryan Matthews. 100 yards rushing, 2 TDs, change of pace with Darren Sproles. They're 4-0 playing at home with a rookie quarterback.
With 4 interceptions in his last 5 games, though, for Carson Wentz. The Vikings seem to be going the wrong direction from one of those hot teams early in the year, but the Eagles seem to be like they could be one of those hot teams early in the year that is actually legitimate. The next game we have your Cardinals barely beating the San Francisco 49ers 23-20. You still believe in the Cardinals like that, Jalen?
I do think when the playoffs come, here's your Final Four. I'm telling you the NFC Final Four right now. Mark this down. Cowboys, Seattle, Cardinals, and you know what else?
Yes.
The Lions.
Yes. Oh, it makes me so happy when you do that.
And I hope we get a chance to play against the Giants, and you know why.
The Lions had a great weekend this weekend in the National Football League. The Dolphins, sneaky good, maybe sort of going to get the wild card spot in the AFC. Beat the Chargers, another wild card contender in the AFC.
You can't talk about the Dolphins without talking about Jay Ajayi. That's been really the surprise out of nowhere. A feature back that's an every down performer that seems to not only get 100 yards per week, but stronger as the game progresses. Made life easier for Ryan Tannehill and their defense. Seems like they found a semblance of balance. Devontae Parker caught for over 100 yards in receiving. The Miami Dolphins are playing really good football.
Now we're getting to those games where it's like, oh, they played.
Oh, you mean the Vikings game?
No. We're talking
Vikings
about
and Redskins?
The Vikings and Redskins game. Sure. Yeah, that happened. Do you hear what happened with Jay Cutler? He got a new catchphrase now.
What is it?
Ooh-wee.
What? Well, he threw a nice Hail Mary. But the Vikings, who lost to the Redskins, big shout out to the Redskins who got that done sneakily. The Vikings won 5 straight, then lost 4 straight.
Rams and the Jets. 3 field goals to 2 field goals. Like, come on.
You know what I like about Jeff Fisher? He like, I'm not playing the number 1 pick. I don't care what nobody say.
Yeah, he's like, I see him in practice. I know more about this guy than everybody else. What you know about him is he was the number 1 pick. What I know about him is he's not good enough to play in the NFL.
And this is really how bad the Jets are, because this is the second game this year that the Rams have won without scoring a touchdown.
The other one was against the Seahawks.
And so it says a lot about what Jeff Fisher and their defense is doing. But, man, the Jet season continues to spiral out of control.
All of a sudden, Brock Osweiler and the Texans are looking like a formidable threat in the AFC playoffs.
Lamar Miller. The team had a season-high 181 rushing yards. Brock Osweiler only threw for 99 yards.
Don't worry about Brock. Don't even worry about passing. Don't even worry about passing, Brock.
No.
Just hand it off, dude. We know what you can do. We know what we can't do.
But what about Blake Bortles of the Jaguars? 9th career pick 6.
He's only been in the NFL for 3
years. In the NFL the last 3 seasons. Can't get the football all the way to the other team, especially when you got Robertson and Hearns on the outside.
Did the Buccaneers and Bears play this weekend?
They did.
They did?
It was good to see Jameis Winston and his team get their confidence back, playing well. It was interesting, some of the, fallout that came after the game when Mike Evans, talked about his stance on how he's going to approach.
We're going to get to that, of course, later on in the show. But first I want to just point out, the Vikings lost. The Bears lost. The Packers lost. Do you have one sound that sort of encapsulates that in the division for the Detroit Lions?
You know who the first place team in that division?
You're looking crazier and crazier every time you do the lion roar, too.
Because we got closer and closer to first place.
Now, you know I'm a Die Easy Knicks fan, right?
It's not just for the Knicks. You're a Die Easy fan, period. It relates to the Knicks, the Patriots, the Clippers. You get the point.
Celtics. I'm a Die Easy Knicks fan. I want the Knicks to do well. But once this starts happening, ever since Phil got there, it's just been one mess after another mess. Like, it's you could just almost track it from that day. What has been done right aside from drafting Kristaps Porzingis, who they don't even use correctly, and they admit it. So he did a little Q&A with our colleague and legend, Jackie McMullen. Jackie McMullen got him to say these things, and he detailed this one time when LeBron was with the Heat and they were traveling to Cleveland. Eric Spoelstra asked Pat Riley, hey, LeBron wants to stay an extra night in Cleveland, but we don't really do that. What should I do? And Pat Riley said, you can't let LeBron James dictate what the team does. And then Phil said, quote, I always thought Pat had this really nice vibe with his guys, but something happened there where it broke down. I do know LeBron likes special treatment. He needs things his way. Is it more of a shot at Pat Riley or LeBron James? I can't decide.
Is Young Jeezy, a friend of the program, available to comment on this? Hey, Phil. Let me cook in Miami. Okay? I got this. All right? The last time I checked, let's look back at our record as executives. Okay? Your hires were Derek Fisher, who's now out of the NBA and working in television. You tried to hire Steve Kerr, who didn't want the job and went on to win a championship with the other team, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. No,
you hired Kurt Rambis. You wanted to make him the full-time hire, but the fans and the ownership wouldn't allow you to do it. So you bring in Hornacek, and you make him keep Kurt Rambis on the staff, basically. All right? You make him the defensive coordinator, which all coaches should be collaborative about everything that's happening out on the floor. Have you ever watched the NBA game? What do the coaches do when a timeout gets called?
Well, why is he talking about Pat Riley? Like, why is he talking about Pat Riley and LeBron James? If you are Pat Riley or LeBron James and you read this, you're like, Phil, I got nothing to do with you. When I wake up in the morning, I'm not worried about you. No one asks me questions about you. No one cares about you. Why is my name coming out of your mouth, Phil Jackson? That's not the way it should work.
Pat Riley, ultimate puppet master that has been able to do it on multiple levels, from coaching through the front office. Phil, puppet master, standing on the sideline, not as an executive. But what he did do is hike coaches' salaries. Mm-hmm. No doubt about it. So $5 million per. As soon as you walk in, you got Derek Fisher's contract. Like, you got to at least give me this. And Scotty Brooks in Washington, like, I need $35 million. And Tibbs in Minnesota, like, I need $50 million. So before you know it, coach is going to be making Phil money, $65 million, to be a front office exec.
So, Jalen.
Good job, Zen Master.
I need to ask you this question, though, because it is a tricky spot. Your coach, Eric Spoelstra. You've got LeBron James. He wants to spend an extra night in Cleveland. The team typically never spends an extra night. What do you do if you are Coach Spo?
This is not fair to Spo or LeBron. For anybody that's been close to the NBA, the first thing players do, the first thing organizations do, and even ownership before the schedule comes out, they talk to the league about specific dates that they hope work in their favor. Whether it's a home game, whether it's a travel day, whether it's an extra travel day on the road. So players all of the time in the locker room look at one another and say, man, we should stay an extra night in Chicago. Hey, we should stay an extra night in Miami. Hey, let's talk to the coach about staying an extra night in Atlanta. And you know what happens? The captain goes to the coach, and then the coach eventually says, you know what? You guys win. There's a good chance we'll do it. And that provides an extra motivation for the players. So this is not just relegated to LeBron James, who's the best player in the league, to dictate whether a team stays overnight or not.
This is a common practice in locker rooms. Generally, this request comes. How long before the travel day does it come? Like a couple days before, or like weeks before?
It varies on how well the team is doing.
That's a good point.
It's
so this
almost
is like a little reward, like a little Scooby snack for the players. Like, oh, you want to spend an extra night in Atlanta? Here you go.
Let me give you a perfect example. If you're on a
Scooby snack was perfect.
If you're on a 5-game and 9 or 10 day trip, and say you're on the West Coast, there are going to be times where you probably play the Lakers or the Clippers, and then you play Sacramento.
Let's spend an extra night in Los Angeles.
So if you can stay an extra night in LA versus staying in Sacramento, that's what players are going to want to choose to do. Not a diss to Sacramento, it's just facts.
Sacramento's great. Sacramento's great.
It's just facts, and that's how it ends up going down.
Here's what I do if I'm Coach Spo. I just let him stay the extra night, but I don't say it's because LeBron asked. It's like, oh, it just happened to work out that way for travel schedules, and I've got a commitment the next morning, so yeah, we're going to stay in Cleveland that night. Give the guy what he wants. He's LeBron James. He's the best player in the league.
Get Young Jeezy on the phone for Phil Jackson again, please. Can he worry about what's going on with the New York Knickerbockers?
Oh, yeah, he's worried about the Knicks, and he's got some shots for them, too. Here's what he had to say about Carmelo Anthony and how the Zen Master analyzes every different player to get the most out of their performance. Here's what Phil said, quote, Carmelo likes communication. He likes a relationship. I was with a number of players who were fine with a player-coach relationship, which involves support. How are you feeling? That kind of stuff. Shaq, Kobe, that's all they wanted or needed. They were busy. I was never the guy who said, let's go out to dinner, but with Melo, I do that. Is he calling Melo soft?
Yep.
Well, he also has a revisionist history because there was a period of time where Phil fell out with not only Shaq but Kobe too, to the point where he wrote about him in the book. And he unfortunately did not repair a fractured relationship that those two gentlemen had that went from winning 3 straight championships in the early 90s, losing while adding an aging Gary Payton along with Karl Malone to the roster, to the Detroit Pistons. Shaq goes on to Miami, wins another championship along with Gary, and then before you know it, it takes the Lakers time to recover. Phil steps down, has a repairs relationship with Kobe. They fleeced the Memphis Grizzlies at the time that ultimately landed Pau Gasol, and before you know it, Kobe Bryant, Phil worked together in that dynamic to create another championship level situation.
So he's basically saying he had a relationship with Kobe and Shaq that was a little more hello, how you doing, more business-like, where he feels like Carmelo needs more of like a friendship, a true sort of like outside of the workplace relationship. In there, inherently in that, to me, it makes it sound a little bit like he needs to baby Carmelo a little bit more is what he's saying.
He's just saying Carmelo's sensitive.
Yep. That's what I'm saying.
And
like it seems like a veiled shot.
These are the things that should be said behind closed doors or not said at all or off wax. You know what this is a veiled shot that tells me that Phil really wants? Hey, Carmelo, come in the office and let's waive your no trade clause.
Wait, let's what teams? Give me like a list. Give me a list of like 6 or 7. Just give me a list of 6 or 7. Let's talk about.
So you heard it here first. That's what this sounds like to me.
This is step 1 of that process. At some point on one of those dinners that they go out to, it's not just going to be to get to know each other. There's going to be an agenda.
So you really wanted my attention, or now you got my attention.
Yeah.
To the point where we should waive this no trade clause, and let's see the potential suitors.
At one of those dinners that they have together, they're going to order and talk about their kids and talk about whatever book project that the Zen Master gave Carmelo. And then right about when they lay the entrees down, they've had a couple bites, Phil's going to say, so, Carmelo, let me tell you why you're here. Where would you like to go? Where would you
Tell me when to go.
Where would you
Tell
put
me when to go.
the OK stamp on? Because we don't think that you are built long-term for the New York Knicks. And from the Knicks to a team that people actually care about in the National Basketball Association, there are some interesting rumors that are just that, rumors, but they're interesting about Klay Thompson isn't going to be traded from the Warriors.
Nope.
Okay? He's not going to be traded from the Warriors. We all know that. It's not something that they're even considering. If you call up and you say, I would like to discuss a Klay Thompson, that you can't even say son. They hang up on you once you get to the P in Tomp. But we have our man, my guy, the White Mamba, starting a little something by saying that he heard there's a little rumor that maybe Thompson to the Celtics could happen. He walked it back afterwards.
So I've talked about this on this program numerous times. When people acknowledge rumors, but they don't have merit, you got to always see what their vested interest in the situation is. So for Brian Scalabrine, what team currently does he work for?
Boston Celtics.
Okay, I didn't say do media for. Say it again. What team does he work for?
The Boston Celtics.
Okay. When you hear rumors about players being traded to Boston, there has been a certain synergy that has taken place. Is that the media person that reports it happens to be from the Boston area.
They really like telling their fan base about people they were going after or almost got. Like, hey, if you let the Boston media tell it, we've already had on the team, on the Boston Celtics, which I'm a Diazy fan, we've got Kevin Love was over there, Boogie Cousins was over there, Jill Okafor was over there, and now Klay Thompson is over there. How many
Nerlens Noel?
Yeah, Nerlens Noel. How many of them have ever played in the Boston Celtics uniform? 0.
And so here's what I want people to pay attention to about the Golden State Warriors. I was watching them play basketball. Klay and Steph had 30 points each. Kevin Durant was getting close. Sean Livingston did a cut to the basket, got the ball, threw a behind-the-back bounce pass to KD to try to get him 30 points so that 3 guys could have 30 in the same game, which I know that doesn't clearly happen really often. Well, he missed the shot. At that point, Steve Kerr emptied the bench and took his starters out. Klay's so valuable, they still left him in. Just think about that for a second. They don't have a player that, in theory, can replace Curry,
Oh, that's interesting.
Klay, KD, or Draymond. They don't have a replacement for those guys. And the 5th guy is either going to be Iguodala or Livingston, depending on who's playing well. That's what they rolling with. If you have a big guy that's scoring on the post, a little more minutes for Zaza, a little more minutes for David West, but that's what it's going to be. So you can't take that guy out of the mix and add another player that doesn't have the level of growth and familiarity with being a splash brother. I remember doing interviews in the Bay Area years ago, and people were like, well, they're thinking about trading Klay Thompson for Kevin Love. Hit the brakes. I was like, never in life do that deal.
Like, no, they're not. No, actually, they're not. No.
Correct. And by the way, this was actually taking place when Brian Scalabrine was a member of the coaching staff before he unceremoniously was let go. You could Google why.
It's an interesting read. Please do so if you love drama as much as David Jacoby does, and NBA basketball, and the intersection of the two. To KD's former team, Russell Westbrook, ho-hum, another 41-point triple-double that involved a ton of assists, 12 rebounds. But more interesting than that was Serge Ibaka's career high in his return to Oklahoma City. 31 points, 9 rebounds, and more important than all of that, with the game on the line and his replacement guarding him, Steven Adams, he throws an up fake at Adams, gets him in the air, and hits about a 13-foot baseline jump shot to win the game.
This is a true story of redemption for a player versus his former team.
Yeah.
It won't get the headlines of KD playing against OKC or LeBron when he returned to play against Cleveland, but it's just as notable for a guy that was a part of the Thunder reshaping their roster a couple of times. Losing James Harden, played multiple years with Russell Westbrook, who became an All-NBA performer, KD, who became an MVP. He was their 3rd best player, a defender, a rebounder, a shot blocker that continued to evolve as an offensive weapon to the point he went from shooting mid-range shots to 3-point shots, in which he made 2 in the game that you're referencing, by the way. And look no further than not only Serge making the game-winning shot, and for whatever it's worth, the same day that Kerry Hilson announced that they weren't dating.
Come on, Kerry. You can wait till tomorrow.
But he had the opportunity to be the go-to guy, which would never happen in OKC.
No, there'd be like 6 injuries, and they'd be like, you know what, Dion Waiters, we're rolling with him. You know, like that's what they would do.
And so for him to return, lead the team in scoring 31 points and rebounds 9, and get a big-time victory, that's a quality win on the road for the Orlando Magic, who shot 53% from the floor.
How about your man, Andrew Wiggins' night against the Los Angeles Lakers? The troubled Timberwolves, who were 2-6 going in, go to play the Lakers. Wiggins, in 41 minutes, has 47 points, 3 assists, 4 rebounds, only 2 turnovers, a career high. And what was most impressive to me about this performance was the way that he did it. A couple threes, a couple driving finishes, a couple good defensive plays, a couple jump shots, a couple post-ups. Andrew Wiggins looked like a complete player. What did you take away from that performance?
Coming into the season, once you add Tom Thibodeau and you get Chris Dunn in the draft, you have Karl Anthony Towns going into his second year, who general manager said of all players in the league, if they could build around anyone, it would be him. They get elected to play on Christmas Day. They automatically got coronated before actually performing on the floor. Mm-hmm. And so, as their coach stressed, it has to start with effort, intensity, and intangibles. And usually it takes place with your best players. You want young guards that are going to be really good players in this league? Look no further than Zach LaVine and Chris Dunn. I'm a huge fan of both of those guys. But the next level playoff type team for a young group has to come from Karl Anthony Towns and Wiggins playing at all-star levels. And for the Lakers, who got off to a really good start, it exposes a hole on the wing that you have to address if you're going to be good consistently in today's NBA.
You don't believe in Nick Young like that? Nick Young's back?
This is why you bring in Luol Deng. This is why you draft Brandon Ingram. You also have Nick Young, who's playing a lot of minutes. When you see those guys getting torched by Wiggins and 47 points, you know that that's something that eventually they're going to have to address, because their young guards, Clarkson and Russell, have shown promise up front. You got Julius Randle and Larry Nance, but you still have to figure out a way to get that primary wing player to be able to give Wiggins fits. That clearly didn't happen, and he had a career outing.
It was a lot of fun to watch Wiggins explode like that. Do you know what you didn't have a lot of fun watching, Jalen Rose?
What's that?
The Michigan Wolverines game this weekend. College football is here, and it's exciting, and it's controversial, and everybody lost except, of course, Alabama. How do you feel about your Michigan Wolverines after the big loss in Iowa?
First, I want to give props to Alabama, because
not the question.
I'm not saying that they're the one. No, sorry, I lied. They number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, for Clemson, who coming into the season, you have Deshaun Watson, Dabo Swinney. You feel like he's going to play like a Heisman candidate. You feel like he's going to be a Heisman front runner, but their defense implodes, and before you know it, they go down. You go to number 3, my Michigan Wolverines. I didn't think that they would lose to Iowa, but here's what I have seen as somebody that's been a close observer of the team. They've had a couple of games where they've scored under 20 points. And usually when that happens and teams are able to keep the game close, you give them a chance to upset you. And Iowa had some motivation.
Yep.
When you're Michigan, you go on the road.
Undefeated.
You say that you're going to undo the road locker room from being pink, as Pat Hayden had them do back in the day to create a mental manipulation for the opponent. You go against an opponent that's a Big Ten foe, and all of a sudden you look up in the fourth quarter, it's still a close game, and you have to give Iowa credit for the way they got the field goal and they got the win.
I love
Washington, I just didn't believe in them. So for them to lose, I appreciate the season that they're having, but I didn't think that they were the 4th best team. But in reverse, it just set up what I said was going to happen before. Michigan was ranked 3 instead of 2 for a reason. Ohio State was ranked 5 instead of 6 for a reason. Because the winner of that game will be in the BCS championship. Now to take it a step further, since Michigan has 1 loss and Ohio State has 1 loss, don't be surprised if both of those teams, no, Ohio State ain't making it to the playoff. No. I take that back. Michigan will still be in the BCS championship round of 4.
If Ohio State beats Michigan, they could certainly be in the playoff.
Michigan to be out.
Isn't there a way in which it's hard for both Ohio State and Michigan to
No
be in.
two-loss teams should be in the way it's set up.
If Washington loses, Clemson loses, yeah, it's tough. Do you think Michigan will be ranked in a playoff position this Tuesday, tomorrow on Jalen Jacoby?
No, they're going to rank them 5th. I just gave everybody the money math. The money math ain't to put Michigan at 4. It's to put them at 5. They're going to put Ohio State at 2 or 3. So the winner of that game, they're just going to flip-flop them.
It's going to be, we've got Alabama, of course, Ohio State, Louisville. You could sneak Michigan in there, even though they just lost. It could happen, Jalen.
They can sneak him in there, but no two-loss team is going to be amongst that Final Four.
Unfortunately, I agree with you.
And we all know who winning the Heisman. Talked about that earlier in the year. He plays for Louisville.
So here's a question for you. You were so confident last week. After all season of saying, you know what? I'm not going to say anything about the Michigan State game or the Ohio State game. Being so confident all season long. And then you broke last week and you predicted a Michigan victory over the Buckeyes in Columbus at the end of the season. Are you standing by that prediction?
I am standing by that prediction because it's going to be do or die at that point. This is where I remember Charles Woodson making his Heisman pose and making notable plays. And I see the same things from Jabril Peppers that's going to take place when they play against the Buckeyes. You watch. Don't believe me, just watch.
That was brilliant. Fascinating.
Can we take, if Michigan makes it to the Final Four, can we take the show on the road?
You know what? I started regretting not putting that into action last week, but after that game in Iowa, I'm not so sure. You know what I mean? Book hotel rooms are going to get more expensive every week. But if they make the Final Four, I'll take a flight. We can do it. I know Mike and Mike are going. They've got the microphones. They've got the internet connection. We can broadcast from there. I can do it.
Let's get it.
I'll do it.
And we putting it on wax.
We won't make any plans for the championship game, though.
Oh, shots fired.
After a fascinating...
Can I say one thing about Alabama, too? Because they get overlooked in this conversation. They have a gentleman playing quarterback named Jalen, who's the first guy to throw for 300 and rush for 100 in the same game as their quarterback. I just got to point that out.
They've had a lot of quarterbacks in the history of that. Story program. After a fascinating Saturday in college football, sports world turned their attention to Madison Square Garden, where the first MMA fight card was held in the world's most famous arena. There were some really good undercard fights. The Wonder Boy Woodley fight stood out to me. It was just brutal.
Woodley got robbed, but it was a brutal fight.
It's just like, you know what, Bruce Buffer? You can't Steve Harvey a fight. You know what I mean? You can Steve Harvey it when it's a pageant, but like when dudes are in the ring punching each other in the face, you need to know who won before you grab the microphone. It's a little different when it's a contest of who's got the best hair. You know what I mean? But it's different when you punch each other in the face for a few rounds. I want to know if I won or not.
No, I got to defend the beauty contestants a little bit. Their contest is a lot more than that.
Look, of course. No shots at the pageantry. I'm just saying, if I was one of those fighters and I was literally risking my life in the middle of the octagon, I want to know whether or not I won. Don't tell me I won and then tell me I tied afterwards.
Preach.
Joe Rogan tried to do damage control out there. Like, no, it's cool. The numbers are right. It was like, oh, I felt bad for him. Anyway, after that, Conor McGregor, Eddie Alvarez, they always make it seem like, like it's going to be a fight. Alvarez is talking about how no one's really tested McGregor in this way. Leading into the fight, you almost thought for a second that Conor McGregor was going to lose. He's not going to lose. He punches him in the face over and over with a devastating left hand, straight left, and then a left-right combination that eventually ended the fight. And then, of course, Conor McGregor, the most entertaining man in the fight game, had this to say to Joe Rogan in the post-fight press conference.
I've ridiculed everyone on the roster. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
I love that so much. Do you love that as much as I do?
I do. He's not only a salesman, but the leader as it relates to that sport right now in its popularity. The first guy to retain 2 belts in more than one weight class at the exact same time. And every time I watch MMA fights, besides the fact they go on till 1, 2 in the morning East Coast time, but that's another subject for another day, I just think about, man, what a way to make a living. Like, just imagine if your livelihood depended on those fights, where you know you're not going undefeated. Even the best of the best lose. And it just makes me think about, wow, what a way to make a living. When I saw how Miesha Tate at 30 years old just said, after I lose, like, I'm done with this. After I've seen Ronda Rousey not be the same, it's a sport that I truly respect because it's something that I truly fear that I know I can't participate in, even if my life depended on it. So because of that, I have a tremendous amount of respect for how they put their bodies on the line.
I'm in bed with my wife watching the fight. And at one point, Joe Rogan, she's on her phone, not really paying attention. Joe Rogan goes, he's going to pop his head off. And my wife is like, she jumps up out of bed like, did he just say he's going to pop his head off? Like, he's going to turn this off. And I was like, man, it literally looks like he might pop his head off. And then come to find out, Wonder Boy gets out of that with his head intact and continues to fight back. Excellent night in the UFC. I look forward to the next big ticket.
Yep.
Put some miles in the minivan this weekend, Jalen Rose.
Thank you for coming to check me out at To Tell the Truth.
Oh, yeah.
It was great to see you, Joey, and Q.
Q is so excited about television studios and TV. I got to bring him by this studio. I don't even think he knows that I'm on TV, to be honest with you. We kind of kept that from him. You know, just kind of shielded that from him. I don't want him spreading rumors around the preschool parents. But, man, Q loved the television studio. He got a credential. He felt like a boss. You know those people? He
was.
You know those people that, like, really proudly wear their credentials, like, a little too much? You know what I mean? Like, you're like,
I'm one of those people.
The game's over. The game's over. You know, like, you're outside. We're at the bar.
I keep credentials when I go places that are notable.
No. See, I can't get with that. I can't get with that. Another credential trick for those that don't want to be so high-key about it. What you do is you don't put it around your neck. You put it between the loops on your pants. So it's just around the side. It's at the hip level, so you don't have to be wearing this badge around your neck all the time. Q-Man, this is what we call Quincy, went to sleep in their credential from To Tell the Truth. So when he woke up the next morning because he had to pee or whatever, he came walking out of his room in pajamas, footy pajamas, and a credential from To Tell the Truth on.
VIP.
He was VIP. He loved it. I'm getting worried about him, man. He's spoiled. He's 3.5. You can't already be in the VIP section.
That was his first velvet rope experience.
I'm gonna make him wait in line for 2 hours just to be part of the audience. Not even be allowed to go to the bathroom. No snack bowl in the audience.
Didn't even want to come back again.
Man, he was there for an hour and had like 7 bags of chips, 2 waters, backwashing in all the waters and putting them back on the table. He tore it up, To Tell the Truth. We're not getting invited back. You're gonna put us in the guest list and be like, I'm sorry, we don't have you here. You're not here next time. Big shout to you, Chris Kattan, Anthony Anderson, Sherry, Kelly Osbourne.
Indeed. Yup.
It's a really, really fun show to watch happen. And you can watch Jalen Rose star on To Tell the Truth later on in the year on ABC. Also owned by our parent company, Disney. Yep. Uh-oh. Now it's time.
And now, the Don't Get Fired topic of the day.
Mike Evans is sitting down during the national anthem. This isn't the first NFL football player that has, pardon the pun, taken a stance about the national anthem and that procedure in the NFL. But he is doing so, and he is directly relating his protest to our president-elect of Donald Trump. He said, quote, I said this a long time ago when he, meaning Trump, ran. I thought it was a joke. The joke continues. When Ashton Kutcher comes out and says we've been punked, I'll stand again, but I won't stand anymore. What do you think about Mike Evans's anthem protest?
The unique thing that I want a lot of people to take away from this presidential election is that while Hillary won the popular vote, Donald Trump won the electoral votes. Now, I'll peel back the onion and basically tell you what that means. It means that there were more people in this country that actually voted for her to win the presidency. when she doesn't get elected, and if she would have gotten elected, by the way, there will be people on both sides unhappy.
Of course.
So this is not about a political affiliation. It's about a particular candidate who, while 18 months in the process of hoping to be elected for president, alienated some people along the way. And when you do that, it creates some collateral damage that doesn't allow people to heal as fast and say, oh, the election's over, he won, just shut up and allow him to be president and fall in line. Mm-hmm. Well, there will be some people that feel emotionally distraught and upset and disappointed and want their voices to be heard. So you see multiple protests happening across the country. Majority peaceful, by the way. And for those who agree or don't agree with the protests, it's not even necessarily about the messengers. Please just open your mind, open your ears to their message. See what they're truly trying to protest about. And lastly, it's, again, his right, whether it's something that he has to deal with as it relates to Lady Liberty, like Colin Kaepernick, whether it's his right because of whatever reason he doesn't approve of who was elected as president. This process should teach everybody. The president isn't necessarily elected. They're selected. And so when that takes place, you're going to have people on both sides, and it's going to create a fallout. Now, this will continue. Now, you have college kids already, even in high school for that matter, discussing walking out of class in protest in their own way, doing something similar than what Mike Evans did. And it's because, and I want you to Google a name, a top advisor that just got hired. His name is Steve Bannon, and pay attention to his history. These are the things that people are protesting and upset about.
As it relates to Mike Evans, do you think there will be more like him that will tie their anthem protest directly to Donald Trump's election?
Yes, that will continue to take place. And I just want to implore those who think different, feel different. This no more is about the election because that's over. But what it is about, uniting. Remember, the United States of America, which means if we're all pulling together for solution at some point without necessarily giving up our right to democracy, it's one thing for you to acknowledge who you voted for or who they voted for. And it's okay to disagree. Like, to be honest, at this point, I don't care if you voted for Hillary or Donald Trump. But here's where we become united. When we both can honestly note, I voted for this candidate and why, and have that dialogue. If you have a large segment of the people that are going to be closeted about who they voted for, and to those on the other side, that may be taken as a level of shame. By the way, it is your right to keep it private. It's everybody's right to do as such. That dichotomy is what's truly stopping us from all pulling in the same direction at the same time. And I really hope we can find a way to get to that point.
Echoing that statement, as there are walkouts right here in Los Angeles from high schools of people walking out of class and protests going on. One of those was in Portland, which got a little testy between protesters and police. Dame Lillard had this to say, quote, I think it's very unfortunate that people have done some of the things they have done during the protest. A lot of harm and damage has been done. I do understand their frustration. I commend people wanting to come together for some kind of change. Tearing apart your own city just isn't the place to begin, and making your own city less safe of a place isn't the answer. What do you think about Dame Lillard's statement?
So uniquely, what happens during protests, and this is why I always distinguish the two between a passive protest versus a direct protest. With those who aren't participating or supporting that movement at the time have to think about is when people are angry, when people get hostile. This is going to happen, unfortunately, when you have many people gathering at the same place at the same time. But for the most part, are we going to turn the camera on when there's violence, or are we going to turn the camera on all the time? And for what I've seen so far, 98% of the protests have been peaceful.
Jalen Rose, a little bit of breaking news in the NFL. Alshon Jeffrey has been suspended for 4 games for violating the performance-enhancing drugs policy.
As a former athlete, I never respected those that cheated to get an edge. In football, however, it's going to be viewed different. In particular, all contact sports, MMA, football, when you're running as fast as you can to hit another individual as hard as you can, and the play isn't over till the ball is down, when you're grappling, kicking, and fighting another individual, and the play and the fight isn't over until someone submits, the public has sympathy for those athletes because we look at it and say, I would cheat too if I could. So like I don't see that affecting him going forward once he gets back like it would in particular in baseball and or basketball somewhat.
And it certainly doesn't have any playoff implications in 2016-17.
Or 17-18.
Someone who did get an edge against their opponents, Kobe Bryant, explained how he did so recently in an interview, and I found this absolutely fascinating. Jalen Rose, I cannot wait to hear how you react to Kobe Bryant. Here he is.
I'm saying, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to double team the guy that hasn't gotten a max contract yet. We're not going to let him get a shot off. And then we're going to single cover the guy that has the max contract, and then watch the guy that doesn't have the max contract complain about not getting the ball all night long and just watch them divide each other. Right? And those are little subtle things that we would do that simply comes from observation and understanding your opponent.
Hold on. Where's LL Cool J when I need him? Hit it again. Can you do it one more time? Is this the guy that won 3 championships with Shaquille O'Neal and they couldn't get along personally and therefore they couldn't play basketball together? Yep. And went on to win 1 championship in Miami, did O'Neal, and he won 2 in Los Angeles? Yep. Okay, this sounds like what people was doing to them. This what the Detroit Pistons did to them in 2004. This is one of those, the older I get, the longer the walk was to school. Kobe, you're an all-time great. And yes, I was there when you dropped the 81, big salute. You dropped 60 10 years later to validate your greatness when you dropped that many points on the final day of the season. But come on now.
Jalen, you're always blowing highs. You're always blowing highs. I was so excited about this level of manipulation and how they were just beating them in the brain instead of beating them with the brawn. I imagine like the Lakers on the bus on the way over to the game, being like, all right, let's look at their roster.
Okay.
Let's see who's looking for a deal, who isn't.
Hit the brakes again. 5-time champion, one of the greatest players of all time. Nobody salutes Kobe more than me. I was out there and saw the 81. And I even validate his greatness by watching him score 60 in his final basketball game in his 20th season.
I feel a buck coming.
This story, however, has a lot of loopholes in it.
Ooh.
Because usually when you're playing against a basketball team and it's a contending level of team, there won't be that type of friction that's going to divide the roster to the point where you're dictating to them who's going to score for them. Mm-hmm. They were just so very great when it was him and Shaq. They had the best 2 players in the league, along with Tim Duncan. Allen Iverson won an MVP at that time. There were other great players in the league, but they were dominant. That's why they won 3 state championships. And they didn't win any before Phil came. They needed him standing on the sideline, and rightfully so. When Phil left, there's a Kobe record with Phil, and there's a Kobe record without Phil. And I guarantee you that philosophy wasn't standing up when Phil wasn't on the sideline, when you look at that roster. Nope. So this is one of those things where he's enjoying retirement, won 2 championships with Pau Gasol, and those will be the ones that he cherishes the most. But this part of the story, I think, is one of those, the older I get, the longer the walk was to school type of things.
I love the idea of Kobe and his Lakers teammates and coaches on the way over to the game talking about which guys had tension between each other and who needs a contract, who needs the shots, and how they're going to make the team and cause friction and tension in the other group huddle. None of that's happening?
The team that they faced consistently in the West was the San Antonio Spurs. They don't have that type of friction.
Another thing is, it's also hard to believe that Kobe focuses this much on defense. You know? He's like, we're talking about the defensive end of the floor? Oh,
he evolved over his career from being an all-NBA defender, like, you get him.
Yeah.
You get him.
That is the evolution. I like that you do that. It's like the opposite of Kawhi Leonard evolving from a defensive stopper to an offensive threat. Kobe evolved from a defensive stopper into a, you know what? I gotta save my energy for offense. Next, we have our friend Dwight Howard, who seems happy in Atlanta. You know, so far, so good. He said he likes Coach Bud because Coach Bud holds him accountable.
Hit the brakes. Where's LL? You know why he liked Coach Bud? They gave him a max contract. And this is his last stop to point fingers.
Yep.
He's at home now. So it's not about Stan Van Gundy in Orlando, getting along with Kobe in L.A., blending in with James Harden in Houston, the offense that Mike D'Antoni runs, who's standing on the sideline, who likes me. This is about now being a productive player. And what he really likes about the Atlanta Hawks is they pass, they move, they cut. He gets a lot of drop passes for dunks. They even use him at the high post sometimes and allow him to pass the basketball and make plays within their offense. And also what he's really going to like, not many dominant offensive centers in the Eastern Conference. Andre Drummond, Lopez, and he all come to mind. As I mentioned, Dwight Howard would get back to being dominant and will be an all-star level player.
Embiid, Whiteside comes to mind. Lopez. There's some centers out there in the East, Jalen. There's a few centers in the East. Center that may soon be in the East is interesting. There are more and more rumors from more and more executives saying that it's actually real this time that a gentleman named DeMarcus Cousins that also goes by
Boogie!
may actually be traded. Will we finally see what, frankly, we all want to see, which is Boogie in another uniform before the end of the season?
Even if the Kings want to trade Boogie, can't trade Boogie. Think about it like this. The fans outside of Sacramento don't care about their team currently. We won't even acknowledge them if they trade Boogie. Nope. He was all NBA. You won't get true value in return. Here's what you can do for Boogie.
What's that?
Build a team around him. That's what you can do. Instead of drafting Jimmer in the lottery
Have you
and
seen
taking
their efforts
Isaiah
to do
Thomas.
so? Have you seen their efforts to do so in the last 3 years?
Instead of taking Jimmer in the lottery and then Isaiah Thomas as the final pick of the draft, you have Tyreek Evans, who showed promise when you draft him. You lose those two guys, Jimmer out of the league. They need to put a quality team around him with some stability. That's what you do.
We have a motto on this show. Simple motto. Part of manifesting that motto is to open up our 1-800-FLOWERS Twitter feed and taking questions from our listeners. First question is from James. James wants to know, Jalen, what's wrong with the Pacers?
Well, the thing that works in their favor is that they're in the Eastern Conference. I think initially they came into the season feeling like they would be a team that was going to be able to run up and down the court and score 115 points a game.
That was the plan.
That was the plan. That was the hope. That was the initiation.
4-6. You know, in the middle of the 11th seed in the Eastern Conference, which is pretty wide open. It's not over, but it's not looking great.
It's too early. It's too early to truly determine when, in theory, they're only 3 games out of the second spot.
Next, we have Favorite gas station food? This is from Alex.
Favorite gas station food used to be ramen noodles, now it's potato chips.
Specifically what type of chips, Jalen Rose?
Anything ending in Edos. Cheetos, Doritos, Fritos, especially the hot Fritos.
Tostitos, anything that ends in Edos, Jalen Rose will eat. Here's my thing about moving to Los Angeles, because you deal with gas stations a lot more than when you live in New York City. In New York City, we have bodegas. We have corner stores. They're very specific. They have their own scent, but a lot of that is due to the bodega cat living there. In Los Angeles, you do a lot of 7-Elevens. I never realized that 7-Eleven was going to be such a big part of my life when I moved here. I'm in a 7-Eleven once a day, and I just want to write a letter to whoever owns and operates 7-Elevens and say, can we just do something about the smell? You know what I mean? There's a 7-Eleven scent because of those rolling food stuffs that they have right by the register. Can we put that in the back or something? I don't want to deal with that smell. I'll send you a strongly worded tweet later in the day when I get off the show. Next we have is Niles. Would you credit the fall of the Panthers to Cam not finding a replacement to the dab?
I credit the fall of the Panthers first to a Super Bowl hangover that's been legitimate for the losing team if you look back over the recent history of the NFL. Also, there's something to be said for dynasty-level organizations like the Patriots and then organizations that are able to have success a couple of years like the Giants and then not make the playoffs for multiple years.
Yeah.
And then you have teams like Seattle who made the Super Bowl and won it, then lost in the Super Bowl, and then you have those one-off teams. Green Bay got there and won one with Aaron Rodgers. Flacco got there and won one. Drew Brees got there and won one. And so what I see in the Panthers is a team that wasn't able to just maintain that level of consistency in back-to-back seasons. Their front seven isn't playing as well as it was, as dominant. They did lose Josh Norman. They don't have a quality run game. And they're still running Cam like he's their primary running back. Did he miss a game this year due to concussions?
Yes.
Did he go in the press conference and talked about not wanting to be hit?
Yes.
That dynamic just seems like it's way off. And I don't see them being a playoff team, unfortunately, this year.
Jack has a really interesting proposal, Jalen. This is really interesting to me, and it brought me a little half-baked idea. Big shout to Kevin Wildes and Bill Simmons.
Half-baked? Don't get fired, David.
Jack says, if the NBA logo was to change, who would be the best replacement of Jerry West? Right? So then it got me thinking, why would the NBA logo change? Then I started thinking about hypotheticals that Jerry West does something awful or whatever. But really it got me thinking, why doesn't the NBA logo change? Why is Jerry West just dribbling in transition forever the personification of basketball on the NBA logo? So my question to you, Jalen, is if the NBA logo were to change to be a different person every, say, 20 years, would that be a bad thing?
So our country has progressed in a lot of ways. Jerry West, an all-time great player. I know him personally. I've spent time with him. This is in no way, shape, or form a diss to him, but you get real spill on Jalen Jacoby.
Uh-oh.
He does have a championship. He did lose in the finals multiple times. When he became the logo, it wasn't necessarily just about the popularity. I think we lived in a country that at that time didn't want to make it Bill Russell, who won 11 championships in 13 years. And he could tell you some of the horror stories that he had to endure as a player, not only in Boston during that turbulent time in our country, but also in the United States, period. So that just became the backdrop of it being him for so very long. Mm-hmm. Then when Michael Jordan emerges,
someone who should be considered as the logo of the National Basketball Association.
Somebody, and let me give you some real spill though. Somebody who, during his playing career, happened to be black, but also embraced the fact that I'm not saying anything. In any way, shape, or form.
I'm not going to make people happy. I'm not going to make people upset. I'm just not going to say anything.
Correct. Now, how did that benefit him? Being an all-time great? Who's the only owner in the NBA that's African American? Michael Jordan. So while there were people that were upset at that stand, for whatever it's worth, it probably played dividends because he ended up in the position that he is now. Because now he's so very popular and his logo is as well, I think that would be a conflict of interest based on the brand that it's become, selling shoes and selling merchandise and representing players, to make that the logo. So it couldn't be the Jumpman logo, which is also the statue outside of the United Center. So for me, it's kind of easy for the league to keep it Jerry West, because if it's not Michael Jordan, then who would it really be?
But let me propose this policy to you. Every 20 years, a new person personifies NBA basketball to the league. Whether they don't have to necessarily be from that era, but it's just something that changes, designated every 20 years or even 10 years. I think it would just be fun to have a vote, to have an unveiling, could happen at this award ceremony that they're doing, and to say every decade someone new represents NBA basketball for this league. So it won't be one person forever. I know it's just a question from Jack, but it's a really interesting proposal if you think
and
about
also
it.
For merchandising, a league that has sold so many jerseys and merchandise over this multiple decade period of time, now you're swapping that out for a new brand. And for anybody that works in marketing or branding, it's very hard to establish one. And the NBA has not only been able to do so, this year we were talking about lagging NFL support and viewership. Well, the NBA is on the rise of popularity. So because of those reasons, I don't see it changing anytime soon.
I would love to see. I'm going to write another strongly worded email to the National Basketball Association proposing this, and I'm going to credit Jack when I do so.
If it did change, it could be Bill Russell.
It could be Bill Russell, and then it could be whoever. Like, you could pick it from a lot of different places. It would just be fun for every decade. There'd be some sort of vote or some sort of candidates, and then someone new comes along. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Disagree with your premise, because I don't want to look up in 30, 40 years and it's been 4 or 5 different people on the logo.
See, I do. It's the only logo where it's like, oh, it's that guy. In the NFL, it's a shield. You know what I mean? The NHL, it's just like some sort of thing. Like, it's just letters. Like, they're the only logo in sports I can think of where it's like, oh, no, our logo is this one man.
This is the difference between the NBA and other sports. The NBA was really smart in marketing the players as well as the teams. The NFL and the NHL market the brand. That's why you called it the Shield.
Jalen Rose, our time is coming to an end here on our very special broadcast to us this Monday evening after a really fun weekend in sports. But I think after the MMA fight on Saturday night, the college football chaos on Saturday afternoon, and the long marathon of NFL Sunday football, there's only one thing that matters, and that is that the Detroit Lions are first place in the
say that again.
North. The
say
Detroit
it with your
Lions
chest. Say
are
it with your
first
chest.
place in the NFC
Say it with
North
your chest.
Division. Jalen, can you think of a word that encapsulates your feelings on this topic? Thank you so much for subscribing and downloading this Jalen and Jacoby podcast. We love our podcast audience so much. We appreciate the support that you've given us for the last 5 years. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Tell a friend to tell a friend to subscribe. Thank you so much.
We out here. They know we out here.
This is Larry Culpepper, and if you love college football as much as I do, enough to invent the playoff, you're welcome. Do yourself a favor and subscribe to the Championship Drive podcast in the Listen tab of your ESPN app. App is short for app.
Louisville heads to Houston to face a dangerous Cougar team on Thursday night.
47 yards right up the middle.
Coverage begins at 7 Eastern on ESPN and on ESPN Radio. Presented by Dr. Pepper.